Let's talk about what's happening in the Middle East, because right now the region is on fire. What started as a conflict between three nations has just exploded into a multi-front war, and it's pulling in powers from all over the globe. So in this explainer, we're going to break down how we got here, piece by piece, front by front.
For the last 3 weeks, we've seen the US, Israel, and Iran trading blows. But, this isn't some contained conflict anymore. Not by a long shot. The flames are spreading, and there's a real risk the entire region could be consumed by a much, much bigger war.
And this just shows you how incredibly fast things have escalated. I mean, what kicked off as a pretty direct fight has just spiraled out of control. Every single week, the strikes get more intense, new fronts open up, and it sends these huge shockwaves of instability all across the region.
Okay, so where did this all really start? It started right here, in a battle for control over the Strait of Hormuz. And you have to understand, this isn't just any waterway. We're talking about a critical artery for the entire global economy. It's the choke point for a massive percentage of the world's oil. The stakes here, they just couldn't be any higher.
And this slide, it perfectly captures the core of the whole disputes. On one hand, the US says Iran is imposing a blockade against the world, and they vow to break it. But then Iran says, no, we're just targeting ships from enemy nations. It is a classic he said, she said, but with two sides telling completely different stories about the exact same, very volatile reality. So right now, this is not a ground war. It's all being fought from the air with these long-range strikes. The US has hit the Iranian coastline and military sites. Iran, of course, has retaliated. But the most crucial point is who's getting caught in the middle. Civilians are the ones paying the ultimate price. We've seen 15 factory workers killed in Isfahan, and in southern Israel, 7 people injured by rocket fragments. Now, as all this is raging in the Gulf, the first and probably most violent ripple has slammed right into Lebanon. And the result? It's a full-blown humanitarian catastrophe on this new northern front. Just look at this number for a second. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, 826 people have been killed in the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. And the detail that just stops you in your tracks, 106 of them were children. That is a staggering human cost. And the crisis just keeps getting deeper. Nearly 1 million people in Lebanon have been forced to flee their homes. Think about that. That is 1 out of every 5 people in the entire country. They're now displaced, shelters are completely overwhelmed, and there's really nowhere that's truly safe for them to go. Behind all these numbers are real people, like Mohammed Tai. His response when he hears claims about striking infrastructure is just a gut punch. He says, "Is this the infrastructure? I've lost my 4 daughters." It's just this stark, brutal reminder of the devastating human reality of this war, so far removed from any strategic map. The situation has gotten so bad that the UN Secretary General has actually issued a formal warning. He's saying that ordering these mass evacuations without making sure civilians are safe, well, that could be a violation of international humanitarian law. That's a huge red flag, showing just how severe this crisis has become. All right, let's track the second ripple effect, because beyond Lebanon, this conflict is, well, it's metastasizing. It's turning into a shadow war, with Iran-aligned militias igniting these proxy fronts in several other countries, and that is dramatically widening the entire battlefield. If you look at the targets, you can see there's a very clear strategy of disruption. And we're not just talking about military sites anymore. We're talking the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, an oil refinery in Erbil, a major port in the UAE, the airport in Kuwait. Hitting this kind of critical infrastructure sends a really powerful message that really nowhere is off limits. Yeah, this table just lays bare the massive scale of this shadow war. This isn't just a series of isolated incidents. No, this is a coordinated campaign that's targeting the entire Gulf region. I mean, from Saudi Arabia all the way to Qatar, these attacks really show you just how interconnected and volatile the whole situation has become. The message is pretty clear. Everybody is getting pulled into this. So with the entire region just sitting on a knife's edge, it really all boils down to one question. Is there any way back? Is there a viable off-ramp from what could be a full-scale, absolutely devastating war? There are some faint glimmers of hope. We're hearing reports of potential direct talks between Israel and Lebanon. You have Gulf states calling for a diplomatic solution. But man, it is an incredible uphill battle. For instance, Lebanese officials are demanding a ceasefire before any formal talks can even begin, which just goes to show you how hard it is to find peace while the fighting is still raging. So you have a showdown in the Gulf, a humanitarian disaster in Lebanon, a shadow war consuming the entire region. With so many fires burning at once, the terrifying question we're left with is no longer if a wider war is inevitable, but whether it's already here.